In this video, I want to show you how you can identify where your constraints exist inside an Inventor sketch. And so the best way to show those is to move on to your XY plane here, like I am, or whichever plane you're working on, and right-click your mouse and pick Show All Constraints. And so the first thing I see this horizontal symbol. Remember, we call that a glyph. And when I hover over it, the bottom line lights up. That tells me that this line is constrained to be horizontal. Then I see a parallel glyph, and when I hover over that, this bottom line lights up in red, but so does the top line. That's because those are the two lines that are set to be parallel to each other. I have another parallel constraint over here. When I hover near that one, you can see that the line on the opposite side, so these two lines here are parallel. These two lines are parallel down, the top and the bottom line. The bottom line is constrained to be horizontal. And then this glyph over here is perpendicular. So this line and this line, when I move on there, it shows me what is perpendicular. So those are all constrained to be perpendicular. If I right-click the mouse and say Show All Degrees of Freedom, what I'll get are these little red arrows with the pointers, and what that tells me is that because my part is not fully defined, that I can still move the locations of these lines. Now sometimes you have to move the glyph off of it, but like if I get right here, you see there's arrow pointing up and down, so I can move this guy up and down both directions. As I define this, and right now it's telling me that there are 4 dimensions needed. As I place dimensions on here, and on this one I'm just going to say 1.25, press enter, and I'm going to put a dimension on this leg over here, and I'm going to say 0.75 and press enter. I'm down to 2 dimensions needed, but look, I still have these indicators telling me that I can move that line. Well, it's not that I can move the line anymore, but let me get out of the dimension command. When I try to move it up and down, what happens is I can move the entire thing now, and that is because I don't have it defined from a known point. Let's say like the origin over here. So if I go in and add a dimension, let's say from this edge to the origin, let's say I make that 1.5, and then I add a dimension from here to the origin. Let's make that 0.75 and press enter. You see that my sketch turns the magenta color, which means it's fully constrained, and you can see down here it's fully constrained. And when I right click, from the escape, when I right click and I say Show All Degrees of Freedom, there are no more degrees of freedom. The sides are defined, the length 1.25, the height of the sides, which is 0.75, and the fact that the location now is defined by this dimension here of 1.5 and this dimension of 0.75, that the rectangle has lost all its degrees of freedom. And so if I extrude that, then the rectangular shape that is solid that it's going to make is going to be defined, or it's constrained to that location in space. All right. And that's an important thing, because you don't want your sketches and your models jumping around as you add more geometry. You want to define things usually. I mean, you need to kind of think ahead and decide what constraints do I want to place on it, where do I want to define things. So I'm going to press escape. To show you that if you just come in here and pick on this, if you pick from right to left and you completely enclose it, it's just like with AutoCAD. When you right to left click and hold down with your cursor, it's going to show you your constraints automatically when you do that. And you can right click in here and you can say hide all constraints, or pick on hide all constraints and turn those away. But if you just by again windowing that, putting it in a window, and even if I window it from this side, it will turn on all my constraints. And sometimes the constraints they kind of get in your way, so you can always come in and you can hide your constraints. Another thing you can do, you can delete all the constraints, and once you delete the constraints, then you should be able to drag that geometry around almost any way that you need to.